Your dad assassination
Welcome
shook
back
the
to
whole
Chukitable
country.
Media.
It's a story I can't forget.
Story
As
many
of
people can't.
2001, the phrase, "May Nigeria never happen to you," hasn't been so popular, or can I call it a prayer that is on top of the list of a prayer point or prayer list of Nigerians hasn't been so popular at all. But these days, that is an important prayer to pray and things to wish for before you get out of your house in the morning and before you get back home in the evening, while on the road too. In 2001, a tragic event happened to a supposed number 3 or 4 man in the country, or let me say number 4 man in the country. The assassination of Baba Bola Ige, Uncle Bola Ige, as we used to call him. If you've grown up enough at that period that we're talking about, you will know the impact of Uncle Bola in everybody's life. Right away from the days of the AG to the days of UPN and to the day of Alliance for Democracy, Haiti, you will know who we call Uncle Bola Ige. He impacted our lives so much. Baba Bola Ige is a hero, a mentor of every one of us. We look up to him in everything he did at the time, from the way he speaks, from his originality, from his humanity, from the profession of law that he took as a means of helping himself and helping the society, fighting for justice. He was a truthful man. He was a real Yoruba man, a real Nigerian, a nationalist that took after Baba Awolowo. We learned a lot from them and we enjoyed a lot of benefit from their administration, from their leadership. We will never forget Baba, Uncle Bola Ige. So also Mama Atinoke Ige, the wife of Uncle Bola Ige. All this I am saying is making me to remember what is happening today. Those things that Baba Bola Ige was fighting against at that time. I remember DF, Dele Farotimi, today. In the struggle, he also took upon himself to heal and to save Nigeria and Nigerians, to open our ears and our eyes. He's been bold enough and doing what majority of us couldn't do. Thank you, Dele Farotimi, and thank you, Uncle Bola Ige and Atinuka Ige. And I want to bring my thanks also to the doorstep of Edmond Obilo for making this interview possible, for making us remember the hero that have gone, Uncle Bola Ige. Edmond Obilo, thank you very much for making this possible, for making us to know more. Even the Gen Z, the generation of Z that we have today, that refuse to learn, that refuse to, to go back in history to know what happened in the past, to understand their hero, to understand the people that are really fighting for them, rather than those people that we have right here today. They should sit down and listen to this interview. Thank you, Edmond Obilo, for making this possible. And I'm seeking permission, playing this video of yours, this interview of yours on my channel. Please oblige me. This is just for educational purposes, for people to know who Uncle Bola Ige was. Edmond Obilo wrote on his ex-handle, he wrote a brief talk, a brief introduction about this video, and I'm going to read it for you. He said, the tragic story of Bola Ige'S assassination as told by his daughter on December 23, 2001, Nigerian Minister of Justice and Attorney General of the Federation, Chief Bola Ige, was assassinated in his home in Ibadan. In this emotional and insightful interview, his daughter, Funso Adegbola, recounts the tragic events of the fateful day. Funso, author of He Gave Me Wings, a compelling memoir about her father's legacy and life, shed light on the impact of his death on the family and the nation. This conversation offers a unique perspective on the man who left an indelible mark on the Nigerian history or on Nigerian history, a man who left an indelible mark on Nigerian history. This is how the introduction went from Edmond Obilo. And I want us to sit back right now. Let us watch the interview together. And I will try my best to bring the interview conducted by another journalist with Muiwa Igi, his own perspective as well. Muiwa also happens to be the son or one of the sons of Uncle Bola Igi. But here now, let us listen to the interview from Edmond Obilo.
Your dad assassination shook the whole country.
Yeah.
It's a story I can't forget.
It's a story many people can't.
And you narrated the story in your book.
Yeah.
How you came to the house and met everywhere quiet.
Yeah.
What happened that day?
That day was the day. It was a Sunday. I'll never forget. My birthday is on the 22nd of December. And every year, I write to my parents to thank them. I give them a gift every year. So that 22nd, I'd written a letter to my parents and a card to appreciate them. And then I sent food to them. So the 23rd morning, my dad had gone to Holy Communion. My parents prefer going to Holy Communion. My father grew up as a Catholic, so he likes Mass. He likes anything that is Holy Communion. He doesn't like Matins as much as he loves the Eucharist. So, and he likes to go to church very early. So he had gone to church very early that Sunday morning. He had gone to Holy Communion service at St. Hans. And then he called me. His older brother had been ill. He was ill in hospital in Lagos. He has his own family. This my dad's brother, my uncle.
You're talking about George Ige.
George Ige.
Bola Ige was the middle boy.
My father was the middle. George Ige was the oldest boy. Dele Ige was the youngest boy. They have two sisters. The first child and the one before my dad. There's one between George and my dad. And she's a lady, but the three men were the more prominent ones. So my dad was the middle of the three boys, the three men. And so he called me and he prayed for me like 40 minutes. Funso, thank you so much. You know, you made me so happy. You make me so proud. I pray your children too will make you happy and make you proud, blah, blah, blah. That I have decided to go to Lagos to go and pick my brother and bring him to hospital in Ibadan. I'm like, Daddy, this man is 70-something. He has grown-up children. His first child is a professor. Why would you go and pick him from Lagos and bring him to Ibadan? He said, most of his children are out of the country. His only son, my cousin Akinge, who actually lives near here, is in Ibadan. So he just thought he and Uncle Dele and Ibadan. And, so they'll bring him, UCH is on strike, so they'll bring him to Oluyoro Catholic Hospital. So he said he was going to Lagos. So I said, okay. The next day, Christmas Eve, they were supposed to go to SRK. And that 23rd was my church, All Saints Jericho's carol service. And my dad really loves my church, especially the choir and the carol service. So he said, I'm going to come to the carol service. As soon as I get back from Lagos, I'll come to the carol service. So I'd gone to see my mom on that 23rd. My dad hadn't come back from Lagos. When we were going to carol service, I stopped by because my parents also live in Bodija. I also live in Bodija. By the time I was going to the carol service, my dad hadn't come. And so my mom was like, okay, I'll wait for him so that both of us will come together. Throughout the carol service, I was looking out. You know, if I see somebody come in, I'll think maybe it was my dad. So throughout the service, my dad didn't come. So I thought, it's unlike my dad. You know, my dad is the kind of person, if he gives a promise, especially to his children, he will try and fulfill that promise. So when I got back I went to my dad's house. And I got to my dad's house with my 2 kids. My husband didn't go.
That was on the 23rd of December, 2001.
December 2001, about 8 p.m. Just after 8 p.m. So when we got to the house in Bodija, my dad's driver and the policeman and the security detail, they were outside. And the driver was even playing with my daughter. My daughter was like, no, don't play with me, because I've trained my children, you know. Nobody will just be touching my daughter's cheek and say, fine girl, you are my wife or you are my girlfriend. No, don't even play with me. So my daughter was not, you know. So I just went straight up. The whole house, there was an eerie silence. Very odd. So my children were like, Grandma. So my son went to the study. I thought my mom was there, because in the study there's a bathroom, and my mom wasn't there. Grandma, on my dad's side, there are 2 wings of the house. My mom has one side, my dad has one side. Grandma. Then I heard my mom's voice faintly say, yes. So on my mom's door, the key was outside. So my son was the one who actually opened the door and found that it was locked. So he just undid the key. As he undid the key, we were just leapt out and said, Daddy, I heard a shot. I'm like, what? Because I didn't even go to my dad's side. I was going to my mom's side first and then going to my dad's. We were just ran out.
So they were locked in by the assassins.
The assassins locked my mom, Muiwa's wife, my uncle's wife, who my dad had gone to drop in Catholic hospital in Europe. Locked them in my mom's room and went to go and kill my dad. So Muiwa said he heard a shot. He heard shots. I'm like, shot? So anyway, Muiwa ran. And anybody that knows Muiwa knows that Muiwa is fitter than me. He flew. And then I just saw my dad's body on the floor. He was wearing white brocade, buba and shokoto. Muiwa too was wearing white buba and shokoto. Muiwa, then there was, a gunshot wound to his heart. Muiwa was now doing CPR. So he stuffed the place and he was doing CPR, put his mouth and was do the CPR, blah, blah, stop one, breathe into his mouth. I just broke down. He said, then I think the houseboy, the steward now came, and I started crying. He said, Sister Funso, don't cry. The steward now said, oh yeah, carry him. Helped carry my dad. He just took the car from the key from the driver, or maybe he had his own car, I don't even know. He just took one car. So I followed him. By the time I got to that housing corporation roundabout, my father lives just off Ade. My brother was going at a speed that there was no way that I could match. So he had taken the body. So he had gone. So I now went home because my husband was like, this is the 3rd time you are going to your father's house, because I'm very close to my parents. So he decided that he's going to watch TV. So he was watching TV. And then I just came in and I said, Bero, my dad has been shot. I feel my dad has been killed. He said, are you crazy? I said, did I lie like that yesterday? I said, somebody just shot my dad. He said, okay, so what are you doing here? I said, I came home to take my ATM card and whatever I have so that if they need money in the hospital. So he said, okay, where is he? I said, Muiwa has taken him. to Oluyoro. So now my husband is Miro. He now got into the car, and then as we were going towards Oluyoro, we got to this from my house to we're about to turn into Awolowo. Then he said, "Where are the kids?" I'm like, "Which kids?" He said, "Our kids." I totally forgot I took kids to my parents' house. So he said, "You know what? I'll take. Where's mom?" I said, "Mom is in the house with the kids." So he said, "Okay, I'll go and drop you in the house with the kids." By the time I got to the house with the kids, my mom was on the floor. My children were on the floor outside. And my mom was like, I can't believe it. I can't believe they shot my husband. I can't believe they killed my husband. My children were too, well, I can't believe they killed my grandpa. I just got there. So my husband just dropped me. He didn't stop. I said, "Just go and meet me. We're in the hospital." I just got down. I said, "Mom, yeah, get up now. Get up, get up, get up." I said, "What? Don't let me get up. I will enter this ground." I said, "You will not enter this ground." Mommy said, Bola is alive. I said, "He's alive." "Oh yeah, Mommy, get up." Be sitting on the floor inside the sand, he's okay. He's okay. He said, "Yes." I said, "He's okay." "You saw him?" I said, "Yes." Me that I didn't even reach the hospital. I said, "I saw him." I said, "Oh yeah, Kayode, Ayotunde, get up. Oh yeah, hold grandma." So I held my sister-in-law, Muiwa's wife. She had curled into the generator room. We didn't even know that was where she was, or the security. She had curled like this, like a fetus. She was just shaking. So I went. I said, "Oh, yeah, get up, get up, get up." So I said, "Did they kill Daddy?" I said, "No, get up." So I persuaded them. We all went inside. And then a few minutes later, maybe like 30 minutes, 40 minutes, Muiwa came. His whole body too, it was drenched. My uncle was in one room. He had prostate cancer and he actually died the day after my father's funeral in Oluyoro. My dad's dead, but the nurses that were there, my dad had come, giving them money. "This is for Christmas. I'm going to Esauki. Tomorrow, when I'm coming on Boxing Day, I'm going to be here." So they all still had the Christmas money my dad had given them when they brought my dad's corpse inside. So they were so shocked.
He had been there earlier.
He had been there like 2 hours before.
When he brought his elder brother.
When he brought his elder brother for admission. And then my husband had gone to tell his younger brother that my dad had been shot. So my husband went to pick my Uncle Dele. So as Uncle Dele got there, he fainted. So there were 3 gay brothers, the dead one, the dying one, and the fainted one. And one of the nurses, my uncle didn't know what was happening. And they said, "I think they brought the VIP because there's so much commotion going on." So when he realized that this is the older brother of the person that died, he said, he just said, "I think it is Bola." So she just said that. So another nurse now came in. I said, "Oh yeah, no, so yeah, come out." So that was how they avoided telling my uncle. But after, I think he was in the news and then he just stopped. My uncle stopped eating from the day after, and he died the day after the funeral. Once his children came and said, "We've gone to Esa, we've done this, he just died the next day.
When you got to the house that day and you met the compound code,
Yes.
where were his security orderlies? Because at that time he was the Attorney General of the Federation and the Minister of Justice. Where were the security men that were detailed to take care of him?
Well, I saw 2 of them there. They were there. By the time I came back, they were there.
By the time you came back, they were there?
Yeah, by the time I got there, they were there. But from the countenance of the policeman, I knew because Muiwa wanted to, because they now came to Oluyoro. And my brother was like, "Where were you when my dad was shot? Where were you? Where were you?" And he was, so to avoid a commotion, I think they took my dad's body into the theater and told Muiwa that they were going to do a surgery so that Muiwa could at least leave the place, because apparently he was so irate. And Muiwa saw a ladder. They were painting for Christmas. Muiwa climbed the ladder so that he could look into the theater to see if indeed they were doing anything to my dad. So I think Muiwa actually went through a lot more because, funny enough, both my mom and my dad, he was the one that carried them to the hospital. And so it's actually had more damaging effects on him psychologically. And he was, so he went with my dad to Lagos, and he knew that my dad, the excuse they gave was that my dad told them to go and eat. Now, there was food in the house. There were cooks in the house. And they were still going to take my auntie to her son's house in Oluyole Estate. So Muiwa claimed, he was in the car, that my dad never told them to go out to go and eat. But obviously, they knew they were going to come and kill my dad. So I was the unknown factor. Because if I did not come in, they would have been like the heroes and said, we just came and met him. And by the time, we now discovered that by the time I came, they had actually seen my dad's dead body on the floor.
They had seen it.
They had seen
and
it.
pretended
that they didn't see.
So the point is that when the assassins came, Bola Ige'S security men were not around.
They said they were not around. They had locked my brother up, so nobody knew if indeed they were there, and they let those ones go in and do their work. But the excuse they gave was that they were not there. That's the excuse.
All of them?
All of them. And then 64 rounds of ammunition was locked up inside a cupboard.
Who locked it up?
The security detail.
So they were not armed when they left?
They were not armed when they left. They were not armed at any time. They did not plan to be armed. They had disarmed themselves. The security detail was actually promoted. He worked in the presidency after my dad was.
We are talking about the Attorney General of the Federation.
Yeah.
At the time.
At the time, yeah. Yeah.
Muiwa was there when the assassins came.
Yeah, Muiwa was there when the
How many of them came in?
I don't know. But Muiwa said he recognized, because during the court proceedings, he actually recognized one of them who was not locked up, and he identified the person. But like now, the states themselves, they proclaimed a nolli prosequi, that there was nothing to prosecute, so they left them. Everybody's free. Nobody's been jailed or anything for Bola Ige'S murder.
Your mom wanted to see justice.
My mom wanted to see justice because she's a judge and I'm a lawyer. And so it's a criminal matter. So it's the state versus the defendants. We, as his children, could only give the supports that we thought the government needed, and that was to give our testimony. So my brother was giving his testimony, and my mom would follow us to court. And then the main prosecution witness, who was the security guard in my father's house, he was put in the next door cell or something to the people who did it. And obviously they must have told him they were going to kill his parents or something. So when he went to court, he denied everything that he said. My mom died the next morning.
Your mom could not take it?
My mom just said, I can't believe it, that this justice system that she and her husband worked for, my dad as a lawyer, she as a judge, that when Sugaba's case was on in Maiduguri, my dad, they wanted to excommunicate him, say that he's not a Nigerian, that he's a foreigner. But, my dad did pro bono and went to Maiduguri to go and defend Shugaba when they wanted to send him out of Nigeria. excommunicates him from Nigeria. It was my dad. And so my mom was like, Bola that will fight for any other person's rights. So they will now kill him like this. And then, she told Muiwa that she wasn't feeling well. That day, the day before, 9th of April, I was in my school. Muiwa went to Lagos for a meeting. Then my sister-in-law, Muiwa's wife, called me that my mom wasn't feeling very well. So I left my office. I went to her. And when I got there, my dad's doctor was Wali Okejiro, so he came, we called him. He came to take blood samples from my mom. And he said that, there was element of malaria. So he started her on anti-malaria tablets. And so I stayed with her. She took her anti-malaria. She had lunch. I stayed with her. She had her dinner. Muiwa came back from...
Great thanks to Edmond Obilo, and great thanks to Funso also for bringing this to light to let us know what happened in the past to their dad, our hero. This is Chokitable Media. Don't forget to share, like, and subscribe. Learn more about the past hero, the genuine one that we're talking about, not like those one we have today. Put your comment in the comment section, subscribe, and put on your notification button. Don't forget to like the channels as well. See you next time, and bye for now.